¿Me oyen bien?
Sí, sí.
Okay. Well, my name's Robert. I'm going to talk to you today about the butterflies of the Madrid region, las mariposas de la Comunidad de Madrid, the butterflies of the Madrid region. Until 1 year ago, I lived all my life in London. A year ago, my wife and I came to Madrid. Since then, I've had very little opportunity to speak English. So I hope I'm not going to make too many mistakes today. I'm hoping my talk will kill two birds with one stone. Que va a matar dos pájaros con un tiro. But it will kill two birds with one stone. That's to say that it will help you with your English, and also that it will increase or initiate your interest in the beautiful butterflies that we have in this Madrid region every spring and summer. May I ask, does anyone here own a butterfly guidebook? ¿Alguien tiene en casa una guía de mariposas? Does anyone own a butterfly guidebook? No. Has anyone ever taken a photograph of a butterfly? Yes? Yes? Do you want to give the talk?
No. Thank you.
Does anyone know the name of a butterfly? Either the common name, or el nombre vulgar, the common name, or the scientific name? No? Well, this is good. This is good because at the end of the day, hopefully you will have learned a little English and a lot about butterflies. How are we going, Javier?
Sorry.
What number are we on?
10 left.
70, excuse me a moment. 77, 75, okay. Let me tell you a little bit more about my interest in butterflies. My main interest is birds. In Great Britain I was a member of the RSPB, RSPB, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, the equivalent of the SEO in Spain, la Sociedad Española de Ornitología. The RSPB has 1 million members. The SEO here has 11,000. So I think you'll realize we're very interested in birds in the UK. But there are a lot of people interested in butterflies as well. And I have heard that in Britain, the butterflies have been more studied more thoroughly than in any other country in the world. Well, I've only been interested in butterflies for 2 years. My interest started in Britain and I've brought it here to Spain. This spring and summer during my first year in Madrid, I've been out walking in the countryside, in the Sierra, in the lowlands, in Las Vegas, looking at and photographing butterflies and spending a long time trying to identify them, because butterfly identification can be very difficult. There are many species that look identical one to another. But I've equipped myself with a lot of books. I have, I think, 4 books on European butterflies, 3 books on Spanish butterflies. So I'm learning a lot and finding it a little easier to identify them. And I also have a friend who can help me. I can send him photographs and he can help me identify them from the photographs.
I'm about finishing.
Getting close?
I'm about finishing.
Okay, I'm going to wait for Javier to finish. You can still all hear me well? ¿Me oyen bien?
How many butterflies have you got?
In my photo album at home, only about 100. About 100. Yeah, from the Britain, Lesbos in Greece, where I have 2 butterflies, and Spain. Spain, yeah.
Are quite the same the butterflies in here than in UK?
I will tell you about that. I will tell you about that. Yeah.
The last by one.
I'm going to give you the names of the butterflies, los nombres vulgares, in Spanish, not in English. I think in English it would not be helpful. And no scientific names. The real butterfly experts, the lepidopterists, only use the scientific names. But they're difficult to remember and difficult to pronounce. Right. Good.
I think there is a mistake in one slide, but
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Check here.
Okay. We'll see if I can spot it. Okay. So butterflies of the Madrid region. Right. So this is what I'm going to talk about. If you don't understand anything I say, put your hand up. Okay. Butterfly anatomy. Their life cycle, su ciclo vital, their life cycle, the meaning of species, especie, species, the number of species, butterfly identification, the food they eat, su comida, their territoriality, Madrid as a habitat for butterflies, the threats they face, las amenazas que enfrentan, the threats they face, what I call the butterfly balance sheet. This is the balance between butterflies as insects which are perjudiciales or beneficiosas. I'll use photographs as I speak to illustrate specific points, but I'm keeping most of my butterflies for the photo show, una galería de fotos. All my photos are of butterflies that can be found in the Madrid region, es decir, en la Comunidad de Madrid. Most of the photos I've taken in the community of Madrid. Some I've taken elsewhere, but I emphasize they're all butterflies that can be seen here. And as I said before, most of them I've taken this spring and summer. Este primavera y verano. This spring and summer. In every case, I'll tell you not only the butterfly's name, but where I saw it and when. Then I'll give you details of two rather good books on butterflies. And finally, I hope we can have some questions and discussion. Oh dear. Number 13. We can't finish on number 13, can we? Why not? Why not? Why can't we finish on number 13? Anyone?
No good number.
Not a good number. Es un número que trae mala suerte. It's an unlucky number. What can we do? Oh, that's better. 13 questions, 14 discussion. Okay. Right, the anatomy of a butterfly. Very simply, its eyes are compound. Ojos compuestos. Its eyes are compound. It has thousands of lenses. It has a proboscis there. The proboscis is a long tube like a drinking straw, como una pajita. When the butterfly is not feeding, cuando no está comiendo, the tube is rolled up in a spiral. And there you can see the tube rolled up in the spiral. The proboscis is about as thick as a human hair. That's all. A hollow human hair. It has two antennae, which are rather like matchsticks, como cerillas. Like matchsticks, they have a bulto here, a thickening at the end. And those two antennae are olfactory and tactile senses. You understand that? Olfactory and tactile senses. What's happened? Right. The thorax is the muscular central part of the body which carries the wings and the legs. 4 wings, 2 at the front, the fore wings, and 2 at the back, the hind wings. The wings consist of a membrane covered in scales, in escamas, often brightly coloured scales. And the butterfly has 6 legs, and those legs are able to detect various chemicals. So they're sensors. And the abdomen contains most of the butterfly's vital organs, sus órganos vitales. This just illustrates the butterfly's life cycle. It starts off a butterfly, it lays an egg, the egg hatches into a caterpillar, the caterpillar metamorphoses into a chrysalis, and the chrysalis metamorphoses into a new butterfly. Let's talk a little about each of those stages. Talk about the butterfly first. The lifespan of a butterfly, su vida media, is only a few days for some species, but can be much longer, as long as 11 months for others. And those butterflies which have a very long life, they would be butterflies that hibernate, que inviernan, that hibernate as butterflies. 2 to 3 weeks is a good adult life for a butterfly. The egg, well, female butterflies, las hembras, they lay eggs on or near the plants that the caterpillars will eat. Las plantas nutricias, the plants the caterpillars will eat. Some lay eggs only once a year. Others lay eggs 2 or 3 times or even more a year. Some species lay many eggs altogether. Others lay an egg here, an egg there, an egg there. I brought an egg for you to see. It's the egg of a campera species. I found 6 together in Baracas last week. Here it is, the egg of the campera species. No, it's not a chicken's egg. It's not a butterfly's egg. It's a chicken's egg. Una gallina campera de Mercadona. This egg, I estimate, is about 65,000 times bigger than a butterfly's egg. The pollo, the chicken from this egg, it hatches in about 21 days. Sale de huevo, hatches in about 21 days. The caterpillar of a butterfly can hatch in only 2 days. There's a special word, I'm not sure if it's a scientific word or a common word in Spanish for when a caterpillar hatches. It's eclosionar. Eclosionar, la oruga eclosiona. It hatches in maybe as little as 2 days. That's about the minimum. For some species, it can take weeks or months for the caterpillar to hatch. Well, the caterpillar is an eating machine, una máquina de comer, an eating machine, which grows very fast. Sometimes many can be seen feeding together. This was in London in June 2012, and I'll show you what the butterfly of this species looks like. That's not in London. That is in on the track en el sendero between entre Puerto de Navarrada y Cercerillar, and that was in July. Do you know the name of that butterfly? Pavo real. Pavo real. The equivalent is the same in English. Peacock. Peacock butterfly. Depending on the species, a caterpillar can remain as a species for as little as 3 weeks or as long as a year. So huge variation. Now the chrysalis, when the time comes, the caterpillar hangs under a twig or a leaf. You can see it hanging there from a twig. Se cuelga debajo de una ramita o una hoja, or it hides somewhere on the ground, se esconde en el suelo, and transforms itself into a chrysalis. The chrysalis stage can last from a few weeks up to 10 months, and ends in the emergence of the new butterfly. Right, I've mentioned the word species, especies, a few times. The concept of species is quite complex. Essentially, a species is a group of individuals that share common characteristics, que tienen características en común, that share common characteristics, and importantly, which can reproduce amongst themselves. Pueden reproducirse entre ellos. Some species contain 2 or more subspecies which could interbreed, podían cruzarse, but which usually do not have the opportunity. That's because they live in distinct geographical regions, too far apart for contact. Subspecies are basically similar in appearance, se parecen, but there are some constant and clear differences. Let me give you an example. This is the maculada. It's the South European subspecies of maculada, which is called Igeriar. And you can see it has orange blotches, manchas naranjas, orange blotches. Let's now look at the North European subspecies of the same butterfly, the maculada. That was in London. That was in September of 2011. And you can see there the orange blotches are cream-coloured, color cremoso. As I said, if those 2 subspecies had the opportunity to meet, they could reproduce because they're subspecies. But they're in London and the other ones are here in Madrid. How many butterflies? The earliest European butterfly fossil was found in Denmark and is 50 million years old. By 40 million years ago, all the major butterfly families were in existence in the world. So as you can see, in Europe, depending on the source and on the geographical boundaries, there are between 440 and 515 butterflies. Spain, about 240. So if you've seen all of Spain's butterfly species, you've seen half of Europe's. Spain's a good country for butterflies. Community of Madrid, 147. A very good figure. Britain, only 59. Only 59. Yeah, only 59. So you can imagine how excited I am to be here in Madrid with my interest in butterflies. Right, butterfly identification. Now, identifying butterflies is sometimes easy. For example, there's nothing like the little cardenillo. This one was at Navas del Rey in the southwest of the Community of Madrid in April. Note that the underside, let me just explain. This is the underside and this is the upper side of the butterfly, okay? Underside, upper side. Here we can see the underside of the butterfly. The underside of the hind wing, the back wing, is green, and the underside of the forewing, the front wing, has these black spots. There's no butterfly like that in Europe. The cardenillo. Another butterfly that's unlike any other.
Please, the name, can you repeat?
Cardenillo. Cardenillo. It's an early butterfly. You see this from March to end of April, May, and then they've all gone for the year. You won't see them again. That one which you will all have seen, I'm sure. No? Has anyone seen this butterfly?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Anyone know the name?
Is a Saturnia? No.
Macon. Yeah. This one was at Monte Parnaso in Aranjuez and was in April. But you can see them all around Madrid. In other cases, it's more difficult to identify them because of similarities in appearance in su aspecto, and because in some species there's a lot of variability in shape, color, and markings in forma, color y pinta. Size, tamaño, is also often subject to significant sexual, regional, and individual variation. Unlike our species, female butterflies are usually bigger than the males. Las hembras más bigger, hembras más grande que los machos. The females usually bigger than the males. It's important to get good photos. If you don't have a good camera, good views of both the upper side and the underside of the butterfly, because the two can be very different. If you have a view of both, you get much more information to identify the species. Where there's no obvious difference between two species, a small detail may provide the critical clue, la pista vital, to identification. This is the querquera in Casa de Campo in June, and note that this has red spots. This is the querquera serrana. This was at Cantos in July, and note this is very similar but has orange spots. Where are we? There. However, some species are virtually identical in appearance, and they can only be separated with certainty in a laboratory by examining the genitalia, or the chromosomes, or the molecules. What do butterflies eat? Only liquids which they suck up, chupa, through their proboscis. Nectar is the main food source of most butterflies, which is why we so often see them on flowers. And I've noticed here in Madrid that the flowers of the thistle, the bramble, and the lavender, las flores de cardos, zarzas y lavanda, the flowers of thistles, bramble, and lavender are special favourites. Others drink fruit juices or sap from wounds, savia de lesiones, sap from wounds on the trunks of trees. Some butterflies rarely or never visit flowers, but feed on honeydew up in the trees. I'll tell you about that in a moment. That is the maculata, which we saw before. That feeds on honeydew. What is honeydew? Honeydew is a sugary liquid excreted by aphids. Una líquida azucarada excretada por áfidos. A sugary liquid excreted by aphids. These aphids you find on the leaves of trees and on flowers, on plants. Not quite yet. Butterflies also ingest mineral salts. Ingieren sales minerales. They ingest mineral salts. For example, from mud, barro, from fresh excrement and urine, and from sweat, sudor, on the skin of animals and sometimes people. These mineral salts, especially sodium, have been found to increase the butterfly's sperm count, su recuento de espermas. Territoriality. Butterfly mobility varies a lot. Most species are sedentary. You understand sedentary? Yes. Some are nomadic, nomadas, constantly wandering from place to place. Sorry, I've been playing with this. This is the Náyade, and this was at Puerto Fuenfría in the Sierra de Guadarrama in August. This is a migratory butterfly. Sorry, a nomadic butterfly. Other butterflies are migratory and can travel long distances. The Atalanta is a common resident butterfly in southern Europe. Common in Madrid. This one was in Torrevieja in October 2011. In spring, these butterflies spread up into Central and Northern Europe and across the English Channel, el Canal de la Mancha, into Britain. Another butterfly, the Vanessa de los Cardos, can't survive, no puede sobrevivir, can't survive the European winter. Each spring, it migrates from North Africa across the whole of Europe. I saw this one in the Parque Regional del Sureste at Rivas Vacia, Madrid, in April. And this one in the garden of the house where we lived in London in June 2012. The Vanessa de los Cardos is one of the very few butterflies that can reach Iceland. Islandia can reach Iceland, which is amazing when you think of the huge distance of sea between the European mainland and the often very bad weather. Of course, it would wait for good weather before making that crossing. Well, what about the Madrid region as a butterfly habitat? Why are there so many butterfly species in the community of Madrid? 2.5 times as many as in the whole of Britain. Basically, because Madrid has a huge variety of habitats that suit butterflies, que les vienen bien a muchas especies. High peaks at over 2,000 meters. Coniferous and deciduous forest, bosques con árboles coníferos y de hoja caduca. Coniferous and deciduous forest, and fertile plains and meadows, vegas bajas. It has huge, often remote areas safe from urbanization and from the harmful farming practices, las perniciosas técnicas agrícolas, encouraged by the PAC. It has varied microclimates, soils, tierras, and vegetation. And it has a central position in the Iberian Peninsula, which means it's accessible to butterfly species from the Mediterranean, from the Atlantic, as well as to endemic Iberian species. But what are the threats to butterflies? Las amenazas a las mariposas. Of course, they have many natural enemies. Birds, lizards, lagartitas, spiders, arañas, spiders, parasites, bad weather, mal tiempo, bad weather. But the main threats are man-made. The main threats to European butterflies include agricultural intensification and habitat destruction, urbanization and infrastructure development, poisoning, envenenamiento, by herbicides and pesticides, and additionally in Spain, particularly in Spain, tourist developments, the construction of golf courses and fire. At-risk species, especies en peligro, at-risk species, despite being protected by law, are also vulnerable to collectors, coleccionistas. Are these threats real? They really are. 31% of European butterfly species are in decline, in descenso. Only 4% are increasing, aumentando. How sad. Qué triste. Well, the butterfly balance sheet, la hoja de avance. It's true that a handful, un puñado, a handful of butterfly species cause problems. Can you think of any examples? Any examples of butterflies that cause problems?
Nothing like close.
Well, yeah, thank you. The polilla is not a mariposa diurna. You're quite right, but it's different from the butterflies. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at one. The blanca de la col. This one, a female, actually laying eggs. This was at Tarifa, in the province of Cádiz, last month. The caterpillars of this butterfly can cause big damage to a field of cabbages, col or cauliflower. That's what they eat, amongst other things. They eat wild plants as well, but they're particularly fond of cabbages and cauliflower. And the caterpillar of the talado de los geranios, which Amalia knows all about. This eats geraniums, come geranios, both wild and cultivated. It's a species that was accidentally introduced into Mallorca in the 1980s from South Africa, and is now spreading fast in Central and Southern Europe. Sorry, spreading fast across Southern Europe. I photographed this one in the Segura Valley at Guardamar in Alicante province in June, but I've seen them in Madrid, including one in the garden of the Museo Sorolla in the city centre. But on balance, butterflies are hugely beneficial, muy beneficiosas. Can you think of a reason why?
Pollinization.
Exactly. Pollination. Sorry. Like bees, like abejas, they play an important role as pollinators, como polinizadores. They're also excellent bioindicators because they only thrive in a clean environment. Solo prosperan en un medio ambiente limpio. So when you see butterflies, you know the countryside is clean. And their ephemeral beauty can't fail to lift our spirits. Su belleza efímera no falla en levantar nuestros ánimos, no, al menos al mío. Right. Let's see some photos now. A collection of a gallery of photos. I've separated the photos that you're going to see into two groups. These correspond with the two superfamilies, las dos superfamilias, into which all the world's butterflies are divided. They're this is hard to say, Papilionoidea on one hand, and the Hesperioidea on the other. My pronunciation may be wrong, okay? But these two major groups of butterflies across the whole world. And I'll look first at the Papilionoidea and then at the Hesperioidea. Excuse me. This is I'll go through these fairly fast. This is the Chupaleche in Monteparnaso in Aranjuez in April. This is a butterfly that flies from March to October. The Arlequin.
Looks like a zebra.
Yes, it does. It's the Arlequin in Monte Abanto, above San Lorenzo de Escorial, in June. The Blanca del Majuelo. This is a male, a macho. Again, Monte Abanto in June.
Excuse me, where did you get these Spanish names? From what source? Which source?
I'll show you the book at the end.
Okay.
I have the book with me. Yeah.
Because it's quite difficult for us also, no? To know this name.
Yes. Some books only give the scientific names. I have one of those books here. It's a wonderful book, and you can have a look at it. It only gives the scientific names. Most books give the scientific and the Spanish name. There are also two websites you can.
But there are no differences between two villages, even inside the Madrid community, because in Talamanca del Jarama, in Cantos maybe, they don't use the same name.
I can only say that the names I use, Spanish names, I've taken from my books. So I assume they're the names that are most common, son más corrientes. or in a few cases where I have not found them in book, I've taken them from a website.
I understand that it's quite complicated to standardize
Yes,
names.
which is why
Spanish.
the Lepidopterists use the scientific names. Yeah, okay. That's all I can say on the subject. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, this is interesting. This butterfly became extinct in Great Britain 90 years ago. They have tried to reintroduce it without success, sin éxito.
Does it feed on majuelo?
I don't know. Well, what is majuelo?
It's el nombre es algo así.
A plant, a tree?
Yes.
Rosácea.
A tree. Well,
The rose.
yeah, I think you can assume if it's called Blanca del Majuelo that the caterpillar feeds on the Majuelo. Yeah. This is the Blanquiverdosa. This was at Gran Alicante, in Alicante province, in June. Notice its rather beautiful green eyes. This is, yes, this is the Blanquiverdosa meridional. This was in the Parque Regional del Sureste in April. This is the Aurora or Musgosa. This was at Burgos in June. Notice that the butterfly's spot is in the orange area. This is the Bandera Española. Así se llama. Bandera Española. Yeah. It's a female. And note that the spot is not in the orange area, it's in the white area. This was at Monte Abanto in June. And as with several butterflies, the caterpillars of this species can be cannibalistic. Yeah, there are a number like that. Strange, isn't it? This is the Coleus commune, Casa de Campo in May. This butterfly, like many, it always lands with its wings closed. So you can only see the underside of the butterfly. However, there's an exception. If the butterfly is corteando, as there, they open their wings to show how beautiful they are. The bigger butterfly is the female, is the hembra, and the smaller one at the bottom is the male. And these two I saw at Cantos in Sierra de Guadarrama in July. This is the female limonera. You may wonder why it's called limonera. This is the female. The male is the color of lemon. The male tiene el color de limón. El macho. The female is green. And you see... limonera. As you can see, the camouflage is amazing. If this was amongst the leaves of a tree, you'd never see it. Also, this is one of the longest-lived butterflies. Tiene una vida muy larga. One of the ones that hibernates as a butterfly. Pasa el invierno como mariposa.
Pero el invierno ensolado. But in winter, in the field of lemons, which is not too far.
No. Well, maybe. Who knows? I don't know where they go. They would hide somewhere. They would hide. This is the. A question? No problem. This is the. Yes.
How many lives the butterflies?
How many?
How many lives the butterflies? How many times? How many times?
How many times?
3 days?
How long does it live? Does it live? It depends on the species. Some live for only 2 or 3 weeks, and some will live for 10 or 11 months. Huge variation. Yeah.
Desde los días.
But I said this one is one of the longest lived butterflies, so this will live for maybe 10 or 11 months. This is the Moradilla del Fresno, a female, and I photographed this at Fresno de Torote. De Torote, east of Madrid. And this eats the leaves of the ash tree. Como las hojas del fresno. It eats the leaves of the ash tree. Hence the name, Moradilla del Fresno. And this is the same butterfly with its wings open. It's the same species. This one actually was in, this is another female. This was in the Arboreto de Luis Ceballos, above San Lorenzo de Escorial. This was in June. This is the manto bicolor, which I photographed very near here in Soto de Viñuelas, and that was in January the 31st, one of the very first butterflies to see each year. In fact, if it's sunny and warm, you can see this butterfly in every month of the year. The spectacularly beautiful manto de oro, a male. This butterfly is so bright, you can see it from a long, long distance away. Very easy to see, especially if the sun is shining on it. It's a wonderful sight. Has anyone seen this butterfly?
That's not good for predators.
No, this is true, not good for predators. But maybe it has defences. Maybe they know it does not taste good. That's the usual defense. This was on the track in El Sendero between Puerto de Navacerrada y Cercedilla in July. And this is a butterfly you can only see in the Sierra. The caterpillar of this butterfly hibernates in Vierna inside the egg. So the butterfly lays the egg in the summer, and the egg remains as an egg until the spring, and then the caterpillar emerges the following year.
It goes back to the egg? It goes back to the egg?
The caterpillar develops inside the egg all through the winter, over the winter, and then the caterpillar comes out of the egg in the spring. This is the manto de púrpura, a male. This was a Cantos in July. This is the canela estriada, a very common butterfly, pretty well everywhere. You can see that in Madrid. This one was at Gran Alacant in Alicante province in June. This you can see in every type of habitat. The caterpillars of this butterfly, they hatch after as few as 2 days. Las orugas salen del huevo en solo 2 días a veces. Very fast. And it's the caterpillars of this butterfly are another species that practice cannibalism. This is the same species, a male, the upper side. This is at Monte Abanto, above San Lorenzo, in June. This is the gris estriada, Torrevieja, in July. Note the 2 spots and the tails. This is the upper side of the same butterfly. It's got the 2 tails, but does not have spots on the upper side. This photograph was taken between Puerto de Cotos and Rasca Fria in August. This is manchas verdes. You may say, why verdes? Well, depending on the light and the age of the butterfly, this area can look rather more green. This was in the Sierra Norte de Madrid in June. And this is the same butterfly, a male. Well, it's the same butterfly, same place, same time, obviously. This is the Escamas azules, a male. This was at Mingorubio, near El Pardo, in June. You can see a little bit of its upper side there, blue on the upper side with a brown border. The morena, very common little butterfly. This was at Fresno de Torrete in June. This flies from March to October, so a long period on the wing. The Dos Puntos, Monte Parnaso and Aranjuez in April. Probably the most common and widespread of all the blue butterflies. And that's the same butterfly. When its wings are open, you can see easily it's a male, es un macho. This, the Ninfa de los Arroyos. This was at Puerto de Malagón, Monte Abanto, above San Lorenzo in July. You can... What's happening? I think, can you see its proboscis there rolled up? The proboscis spiraled up, okay. This is a butterfly that feeds on both nectar and honeydew, la líquida azucarado de los áfidos. It feeds on both. And this is the same butterfly with its wings open. The ortiguera in the Sierra Norte de Madrid in June. The caterpillars of this butterfly feed on nettles, on ortigas, feed on nettles, hence the name ortiguera. Anyone know this butterfly? What's the name of your queen in Spain? ¿Cómo se llama? Sofía. That's the name of this butterfly. It's the Sofia. This is a female. This was at Cantos in July, and by a very strange coincidence, the name of this butterfly in English is Queen of Spain Fritillary. Queen of Spain Fritillary. Not a new name, an old name. Queen of Spain Fritillary. So there's the underside, and there's the upper side. The same butterfly.
How you are able to recognize if it's a male or female? If they are not all together?
Yes.
They together,
yes.
the male is...
Sometimes there's an obvious difference. Sometimes the underside or the upper side is very different. But I have to tell you, usually I make the identification of male or female from my photos, comparing them with photos in the books. But sometimes there is no difference, or no significant difference.
But I mean, at the time of the shooting?
Time of the shooting, usually I do not know. Sometimes I know. Usually I do not. With the manto de oro, for example, the beautiful golden butterfly that I said you can see a long way away. The female is very different from the male. As soon as you see the upper side, you know which is male and which is female. This is another butterfly with amazing camouflage. This was in Monte Abanto in July. This is called the Fe Blanca. I think you can see why. The Fe Blanca. This is the Pandora. This was at Fresno de Torrete in June. A butterfly that's easy to identify. It's very big. One of the biggest butterflies. The whole of the underside of the hind wing is green, and it has this red area here that hasn't come out too well on the photo, but this area is red. And that contrast between all green and red identifies it as the Pandora. And now I'll show you the upper side. Same butterfly. This was late in the year. This was at La Herreria above San Lorenzo de Escorial. This was in August. And it's starting to lose colour. As a butterfly gets older, sus escamas start to fall off. So it loses colour. And this one, as I say, is old, starting to lose colour.
Does it also affect its ability to fly?
I don't think so. No. But of course, butterflies, as they get older, they get damaged. They injure themselves. A bird might take a piece out of a wing, and that affects their ability to fly, of course. A moment. This is Lunares de Plata. This is a male. This was between Puerto de Navacerrada and Terceria in July. And that's why it's called Lunares de Plata. These are the lunares. In English we call these beauty spots. Beauty spot, lunares. This is the Niobe, a male. This was at La Herreria, above San Lorenzo de Escorial. This was in June. It's another butterfly whose caterpillars feed on nettles, on ortigas. The Doncella punteada at Cantos in July. There are a number of butterflies in the Doncella family. These black spots here on the upper side, you can see two of them there. They distinguish it from the other Doncellas. This is the Doncella mayor in the Sierra Norte de Madrid in June. This is the Doncella timida in Cantos in July. This kind of looks like a peninsula here inside an orange lake. This distinguishes it as the Doncella timida. The Doncella ondas rojas, Monteabanto in June. And that's the same butterfly, the upper side. This is the Medioluto iberica, Monteabanto in July. This you can see everywhere in the Iberian Peninsula. This is the Medioluto montañera. This I saw below the Pico de Abantos, above San Lorenzo de Escorial in July. You will only see this one in the Sierra, in rocky areas with poor vegetation. This is the Medioluto Inés. This was in Gran Aracant in April. This is the Banda acodada between Puerto de Navacerrada and Terceria in July. A butterfly you will mainly see in the Sierra. The Pardo rubia, a male. This was in Cantos in July. These are most abundant in forest areas in the selva. The Sátiro negro. Sátiro negro, female, between Puerto de Navacerrada and Puerto de Cantos in August. You may be wondering why, with a name like Sátiro negro, it's not black. Well, it's because it's a female. There's the black, the male. This was at Puerto Fuenfría in August. Well, these butterflies live in isolated colonies in the Sierra. The Rey Moro, Monteabanto, in July. Why is Rey Moro funny? Why is Rey Moro funny? No particular reason, okay. This is the Montañesa vacilante, between Puerto de Navacerrada and Terceria. Note the shape of the orange area. There's a bit of an angular recto, a right angle here, so the orange is much wider at the top than at the bottom. We've got one out of sequence. We're out of sequence here. Right, not to worry. This is the meadow brown, sorry, the loba, a male loba at Fresno de Torote. This lives in every type of habitat. You can see this all over the community of Madrid. This is the lobito. Just a minute. Right. This is lobito, closely related to the previous one, the loba. This was in Monte Abanto in July. This is a butterfly that you won't find everywhere. It likes dry and rocky areas. The lobito listado, a female, at Mingo Rubio, near El Pardo in June. And that's the same butterfly with its wings closed. That is the Velada de Negro, Gran Alicante in June. Note, this circle here is called an ocellus. All these are called ocelli. Well, note this has an ocello on the underside of the forewing, underside of the front wing. This species does not have an ocellus here. It's a close relative. Es un pariente de la mariposa de antes. This is the Mancho leonada. And this was between Puerto de Navacerrada and Cercedia in July. This, the Saltaceras. It's a male. The strong black marks here distinguish this as a male. Monte Parnaso and Aranjuez in March. Right. That is not the end of the photos. It's the end of the Papilionoidea. The other much smaller butterfly family is the superfamily, is the Hesperioidea, as I said. This is an older and more primitive group of butterflies, and the butterflies are a little bit different anatomically from the Papilionoidea. They're generally small. They have large heads, they fly fast, and they look more like moths, son más parecidas a polillas. They look more like moths than the other butterflies. But they are butterflies, son mariposas diurnas. Sorry, I can tell you which butterfly this is. This is the Sertorio, Puerto de Malagón, Monte Abanto in June. No. Yeah, that. Sertorio, sorry. This is the Polvillo Dorado. However, I've only got 7 or 8 photos left of butterflies now. This is the Polvillo Dorado in Torrevieja in July. Dorado because the underside of the wings is light golden. Piquitos Castaña in the Parque Juan Carlos I in July. The Piquitos, Casa de Campo in July. The Dorada Oscura in Torrevieja in April. The Dorada Línea Larga in the Arboreto Luis Ceballos, Monte Abanto. The Dorada Manchas Blancas, you can see the Manchas Blancas there very easily, between Puerto de Cotos and Ras Garcia in August. The Dorada Orla Ancha, a male. This black mark is what distinguishes it as a male. In English it's called the sex brand. Between Puerto de Navacerrada and Cercedia in July. And the last butterfly photo, the Veloz de las Rieras in the Segura Valley at Guardamar in Alicante province. This is a butterfly you can find in Madrid, but it's rare, muy poco común. There are isolated colonies, for example, in Alcalá de Henares and Aranjuez. finally, not quite. Altogether, we've seen photos of over 40% of the butterfly species in the Madrid list. I hope you're as impressed as I am by their delicate beauty and by their extraordinary life cycle through the ciclo vital. This is finally now. I want to tell you about two books. Mariposas diurnas de la Comunidad de Madrid, a very excellent book. I have it here so you can look at it afterwards. And this one, Mariposas diurnas de la Comunidad Valenciana, this I think is a magnum opus, una obra maestra, a magnum opus. It's exceptionally good value. Se dice un chollo, no? Exceptionally good value at around €13. It has over 400 pages, this book.
Sorry, how do you say chollo?
Bargain. B-A-R-G-A-I-N. Bargain. Although this book is about the butterflies of the Comunidad Valenciana, this includes 137 of the 147 butterflies on the Madrid list. And the information about identification is first class. So if you want a good book, or two good books about butterflies in Madrid, I buy both of these. As I say, you can see them both afterwards. And now, questions and discussions. Si ustedes quieren practicar su inglés con preguntas o comentarios sobre mariposas y también pájaros y otras cosas, estoy a su disposición.
Rosy question.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to sit down.
When did you go to the countryside to see the butterfly?
Yes.
You only wait, or you have any track, any trick for photography the butterfly? Do you wait hours and hours?
No, never. First of all, I take binoculars, llevo prismáticos. I take binoculars, so I can look into the distance to see if there are butterflies well in front of me. And sometimes I use them to identify a butterfly. If it's a butterfly that doesn't interest me, well, I leave or I go somewhere else. I look for plants in flower. I look for thistles, cardos. I look for lavandar. I look for zarzas, because the flowers of these three species, amongst others, are particularly attractive for butterflies. I look at the ground as I walk along, because a lot of butterflies like to quieren tomar el sol. They like to sun themselves, to sunbathe on the ground. I look up at the trees, because there are some butterflies that do not often come down from the trees. Sometimes you can only photograph them on the trunk of the tree or on the leaf of the tree. Well, if you waited long enough, they might come down, but they spend most of the time around the treetops. But I go to particular areas to look for butterflies. I go to areas where I think there will be many butterflies, or I go to an area where I might see a particular species that I want to see. Okay? This year, and it will be the same every year, I started to look for butterflies in the lowlands, in las Vegas Bajas, in the lowlands, because the weather is more temperate there. The butterflies start to fly early in the year. The best places to see butterflies, or many butterflies, are the Sierra, but you need to wait another month or another 6 weeks, because they take to the wing much later, because it doesn't get warm until much later. And all butterflies need warm weather. Most need sunshine. Some butterflies do not need the sun. So, for example, there are butterflies in forests, in bosques, that get very little sun.
So in general terms, the butterflies are good indicators of the good climate and things like that.
Well, it depends what you mean by a good climate. You will see butterflies when it's warm. When it's warm or when it's hot. You won't see butterflies in winter. In terms of indicators, they're a good indicator of a clean environment, un medio ambiente limpio. A clean environment, yes. Yes, because, well, you know, herbicides and pesticides will kill them.
In the 19th century, when Guadarrama Sierra was discovered by painting and also scientific people, there was an important entomologist, one.
Entomologist.
The name was Mariano de la Paz Graels.
Okay.
I think this scientific discovered a new species of butterfly, and it took the name of him.
Oh, really?
The name was Graelsia Isabelle, because the queen was Isabel.
Okay.
I think it's like Saturnian.
Right.
I think it's the site when he discovered this species was Monte Alantos.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever see this kind of butterfly?
I don't think so. I think I would have remembered the name. However, let me look it up in the book. What was the name again?
Graelsia Isabelle, the Latin name.
Okay.
Like Saturnia
And he found it in Madrid?
in Madrid.
It's not in the list. Not in the list. You can have a look afterwards. Let's try a lengthy book. Oh no, Gracia. Isabella. Oh, there. No, it's not here either. Not here either.
I have seen in a book
Yes.
about the Guadarrama history, and it refers this.
Okay. Maybe it has become extinct. As I said, the number of butterfly species is many butterfly species are declining. So maybe it's become extinct, or maybe it's for some reason it's moved to the other side of the Sierra, to who knows, Castilla y León, quién sabe. Any more questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I used to see a black butterfly, the upper side black.
Yes.
But she stopped always with the
Wings closed.
wings closed.
Yes.
And it's not beautiful, it's not black.
No.
Do you know the name of the
No,
It's
I don't
small.
know. Yeah, small. Okay.
Small,
No, I don't.
black? Wonderful.
It does not. It does not ring a bell.
Sorry?
It does not ring a bell. No, Miss Wenger. It does not ring a bell. Yes. As I think I said, many butterflies only posan with the wings closed.
Only close.
Only closed. Many. Yeah. Which makes identification sometimes extra difficult. Yeah.
Do you only take photograph or do you desiccate?
I never touch butterflies. I never touch them. Ni tocarlas. I never touch them. No.
What do you think about the collection people, the butterfly collection people?
I think it's immoral. It's immoral. I think it's immoral.
But you can see many butterflies desiccate, sorry, in English, in museums.
You can, yes. But times have changed. Now you can have a butterfly collection with photographs.
Oh, yes.
You do not need dead specimens. Yeah. And of course, when those butterfly collections were developed in museums, there were many more butterflies. There were many more butterflies because there was cleaner air, there was less urbanization, less infrastructure development, there was a more environmentally friendly form of agriculture, many reasons why there were more butterflies when those museum collections were built up.
I have some butterfly photos, but it's very difficult to take one photo to a butterfly. How much distance you need to approach to take a good photo?
Well, that depends on the camera. If you have a camera only with a macro lens, you need to get very close. With my camera, I cannot get closer than 1.2 meters, 1,2 metros, no más cerca. It's a camera that I use to photograph birds and butterflies. It has a lens, un objetivo, of 70 to 300 millimeters. 70 to 300. It means that if I'm, for example, 1.5 meters away, I can get a good close-up photograph. But if the butterfly is 20 meters away, I can also get a good photograph. And I had two photographs I showed you of the Ninfa de los Arroyos in Puerto de Malagón. That butterfly was, I should think, 20 meters away.
Robert, your camera is full frame or APS? Because 300 millimeters depends on equivalent. Your camera is APS equivalent to full format will be 105 and 450.
Javier, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know the answer. Sorry. The camera is a Canon 550D, 150D, and the objetivo is also Canon. It's image stabilized, 70 to 300. Yeah, you need an image stabilized lens to photograph birds. And it's convenient to carry, although the camera is heavy, it's convenient only to have one camera for birds and butterflies. And animals as well, I photograph animals. Rabbits, deer, things like that. Okay?
Very interesting. I learned a lot about the butterflies because I didn't know nothing.
No, well, before I was interested in butterflies, it started just over 2 years ago, I ignored them. I didn't really see butterflies. A butterfly would fly past and I wouldn't look at it. And if you walk around in the campo, in the sierra, you see people walking along and a beautiful butterfly will fly past and they won't see it. They won't notice it. It'll be right in front of them. Well, I was like that. But once you look at one butterfly really closely, really carefully, and you see how beautiful it is, well, you want to know more about it. You want to see more butterflies. So when I've seen a new butterfly, the first thing I do when I get home is I identify it, and I get out all my books, and I read all about it. Unlike many men, I have a collection. In this case, it's a collection of photographs of butterflies or birds. Amalia, I think we finished. What's more, we finished on time. On time. Well, thank you so much for coming. And if you want to know more about butterflies, these are the two books that I particularly recommend. I've also brought a book about the birds of Madrid, Con las aves por la Comunidad de Madrid. A useful book. So, help yourselves. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Robert, the next speech
It could be birds, birds of Spain. I could do birds of Australia. I could do Australia. Yeah. I could do